So, hello everyone. This is Will. I am a DAO Club graduate and I am a contributor to the Meta Colony. So, it's my first colony community call. So, hello. And don't confuse me with the other Will who's a developer. He was here first, so he's kind of the more official Will. You can call me Will N. Anyway, today we're here to talk about a new feature that was recently added to Colony. It's called Simple Decisions. Now, it may sound simple, but this is actually a really powerful feature that opens up a lot of exciting use cases. In essence, it allows you to apply reputation based voting to a much broader range of governance decisions. Whereas motions on Colony trigger on chain events when they're passed, simple decisions can be used for virtually any yes or no question in your DAO. So we have Chris here today, and we wanted to first kind of give an overview of what motions are, because understanding motions on Colony really helps you understand why simple decisions are so important. So maybe Chris, you want to give a first just overview of motions on Colony and how they work.
Yes. First of all, hey, I'm Chris. I work for Colony as well, contributor to the Meta Colony, and I'm doing mostly developer relations, and sometimes I code. So motions are usually call them suggestions that you want to make in your colony that have on-chain consequences. It means whatever you feel like you want to do, like really anything within your colony, meaning you want to move funds from one place to another, you want to pay someone, or you just want to upgrade your colony to the newest version. All of this can be done with a motion. It means um, you can just basically anyone can just file a motion in the colony, and then if it gets enough support, then it gets passed and triggers this on-chain action automatically that you want to do. There's a couple of restrictions to it, or a couple of techniques that you might want to know about. So we call this reputation-based governance, or our approach to reputation-based governance. So whenever someone wants to file a motion, they have to have reputation, and at the same time, they have to have tokens within that colony. So these two things you have to have. And once you have that, you can actually stake for a motion. What does it mean? And why do you even need to do that? So staking for a motion means that you kind of putting your money where your mouth is, basically saying, I want to back this up. I want to back up this motion. It can be your own motion, it can be someone else's, but you want to back this up, and you want to back this up with your money, with your token that is probably worth something in your colony. And the caveat here is that you can only stake as much of your token as you have reputation. That means if you don't have enough reputation or you don't have enough tokens, you might not be able to stake this motion. A motion needs to have a certain amount of um, activation points or activation percentage. That means like a certain amount of reputation or token has to be staked for a motion to activate. Once it's activated, it kind of just goes through. We call this kind of process lazy consensus. That means if you file a motion, you back it up with your money, and if no one objects, it just goes through. That means it's really easy to just do day-to-day business without a lot of voting if everyone agrees anyway. So you can make sure that people have seen your motion, you just back this up, and it goes through flawlessly. Later on, if someone objects, basically meaning they activate the other side, um, there will be a vote on this motion. And once there's a vote, everyone can vote for an outcome, yes or no, with their a personal amount of reputation in the colony. This was a lot for now, but we will go through this process like in very much detail later on in the screencast. So don't worry if you like missed anything. Um, he will show like the whole process, and then after that you will be able to ask questions in much more detail.
Right, perfect. So a motion is kind of a governance process which triggers an on-chain action, and it may or may not have a vote involved. If someone objects, then a vote can be triggered. So can you explain how simple decisions differ from motions, or maybe they're seen as a type of motion?
Yeah, simple decisions are basically a subtype of motion, which where the only thing that kind of differs is that they don't trigger an on-chain event. That means if you want to vote for something that doesn't need to have an on-chain consequence, for example, you want to hire someone, or you just want to like vote on a proposal that someone added into your for your colony that doesn't need on-chain triggers, then you can do that using a simple decision. So we kind of called it our solution for things like Snapshot, but it's not token based, but reputation based.
Great, great. So let's dive into this and see some simple decisions created. Here we are in the developer demo colony, which I've just joined. It's an honor. And let's go ahead and make a new simple decision. So the first thing we're going to need to make sure we actually have the governance extension enabled and updated. Now in this colony, I understand, Chris, we've kind of adjusted some of the parameters on the governance extension. Maybe you can mention what those are. We've shortened them essentially for demo purposes.
Yeah, exactly. So as I've just mentioned, a motion has certain phases that it goes through, and all of these phases have a certain time they have to be active at. That means like when we have a motion, it's just created but not staked, it's in the staking phase. That means it needs to have a certain amount of backing until it goes active, and this phase has a certain amount of time, and then the voting or the staking has a certain amount of time, and if it goes into voting, the voting phase has a certain amount of time, and then when after the voting, it goes into the reveal phase, and the reveal phase has a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
These are usually hours to days. Most of the time, it's going to be days. Or it's what we recommend. For our purposes here in this colony, we set it to just 2 minutes so that we can actually demo the whole process in very short amount of time. So
Nice.
imagine like, and every time you see the counter 2 minutes, um, this should be like hours or days.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Your colony.
Yeah, so we've been having fun like scrambling along trying to get things approved within 2 minutes in this colony. It's been great. So yes, if you head to the Decisions tab here, you'll see a list of the decisions made in the colony. You can see here that we've already gone through and made a few that have passed. Should mini giraffes be our official mascot? That is passed. And you can kind of see how the process got carried out in real time here, and we'll be going through step by step while we create a simple decision. So just like a motion, if you've made a motion before, you'll be familiar with this interface. You can leave a comment. You'll be able to kind of object or create a motion all right here. So let's head back and let's create a new decision. Let's see, maybe should we hire Bob? Then we can justify our decision here. Bob is a great guy and a good worker. So just to remind everyone, simple decisions are for yes or no questions. So we always want to phrase it in a way that could be answered with a yes or no. Then we'll see a preview here. Should we hire Bob? Bob's a great guy and a good worker. Kind of a lame proposal here. Obviously, we'd want to give some more justification here. Maybe mention how much we need to pay Bob and how long he'll be around and who will be accountable for him. But for this demonstration, we can go ahead and publish this simple decision. So now we'll have to just confirm a couple of transactions to submit that. and then we are going to annotate that transaction because there's a description there. And essentially what needs to happen next is we need to, as Chris mentioned before, now that we've created it, we need to back this. So we need to put our money where our mouth is, show that this isn't just a, spammy kind of waste of a decision. Once we stake more than 10% of the required stake, our decision will be displayed on the decisions tab of the colony. So that's another kind of anti-spam measure that makes sure that only quality decisions are displayed. So I'm going to go ahead and stake 100% of the required stake here. And you can see our countdown timer. We can't see it now, but just 2 minutes to get this staked in this colony. Typically, you'll have a couple days, and you'll be able to, share it. And now one more signature to stake the motion. And there we go. I think I made it through. Yep. The motion has been backed. And so now you can see it's going to pass in just 30 seconds because we've made this period really short just for this demo. So if no one comes in and objects, we will have an official simple decision here. Now maybe just for demonstration's sake, I think, oh man, we should really trigger a vote for this. I'm going to go ahead and object to it, see if it gets through in time. Might not here.
If not, we just create a new motion and then we can try to see if we can vote.
Maybe in this instance, I actually want to trigger a vote. I want to show that people have actually voted on this, so I might object to my own proposal. It's a little outlandish, but this is the kind of flexibility that Colony actually gives you. You can kind of create your own governance processes within the Colony framework, and it can fit whatever your needs are. Let's see if that objection went through. Oh man, yes. So my objection did go through. So now you'll see the voting module here. And it's just a simple yes or no. Should decision be approved? So should we hire Bob or not? Now people are encouraged to actually vote. And that voting will be secret until the end of the voting period. And you might have heard recently with Snapshot kind of promoting their secret hidden voting methods. Well, it's already been on Colony for a while now. So let's say, okay, we're gonna approve it anyway. We're gonna hire Bob. I'll cast my vote here.
This is a very fast run through, but you have to imagine that this is a process that takes up to a week and with multiple people involved, and it can stretch a long time if it's really like a controversial decision.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like in between every one of these moves, we'd be heading back to Discord, we'd be debating it. We really need to communicate at every step of the way here. So now we're just waiting for the end of the voting period here. In the meantime, I can leave a comment saying, let's say,
there's also one other thing that will happen if one side of the vote will already reach 50%, then the voting period will stop immediately because it doesn't make any sense anymore to wait for the rest of the votes anyways.
That's true. So you can see that I have quite a bit of reputation in this colony, over 43%. So if that was higher than 50%, my vote would have basically ended the voting period instantly. And then so now we can see the vote is ended, and I can now reveal it. Yeah, we are compressing like a week-long process potentially into just a few minutes here, so a lot of action. And Bob is just one step closer to being hired here. So there we go. The votes have been revealed, and you can see 100% voted for it to pass. And you might notice this note about an escalation period. That has to do with if this proposal was made within a team, if it wasn't made in the root team of the colony, then you can actually escalate it, which is kind of like an appeals process you've heard of in courts, where we can escalate it to the root colony if that's determined to be, necessary. So just like this, it's pretty much passed. Now it just needs to be finalized. So
Just a
maybe,
second.
yes.
So if you stay on the screen, everyone will see that there's like a little table on the top right with stake, penalty, and total. So what is that? What is that really? We talked about putting our money where our mouths are, and in general, if there's a stake, then there's also a penalty if something goes wrong, right? Otherwise, there wouldn't be any stake. So in this case, what happened is that the cause it went to a vote. That means whatever you stake, you get penalized if your vote in the end doesn't match the outcome of the voting process here.
Mm-hmm.
That means you could actually penalize if you're on the wrong side of the vote, so to say. And this is also just to prevent, it's kind of a game theoretical prevention method of people just gaming the system, or just because if you don't punish anyone for being wrong, or not for kind of like putting out wrong votes, then people could just vote yes on anything or no on anything, and it wouldn't have any consequences. But it has to have consequences if you really care about it.
Mm-hmm. So at this time, am I seeing a penalty because I raised an objection to it?
Yes, you were on the you like part of you were on the wrong was on the wrong side. This is kind of a
Yeah,
special case. So, and this is why you wouldn't really do that. Because you would get penalized either way.
great. Well, I deserve that. So now we can claim the reward, which is just me getting most of my stake back here, minus a little penalty for objecting. And once that has gone through, I believe this process has pretty much been finished. So just like that, these will get claimed once that goes through. And why don't we go back to the decisions list in the colony here. All right, should we hire Bob has now passed. Check that out. That's great. I see someone else has made a simple decision here. Fire Will from the developer demo colony. All right, we need to check out what happened here. All right, he's been lazy. Jeez, it got staked. Thankfully, someone raised an objection, and thankfully it just barely didn't pass. So good. We can see the history of all the simple decisions in the DAO here, and that's about it. Pretty easy to get going, but really a lot of use cases, potential use cases that we could dive into, and that's something I want to talk about today because it doesn't require an on-chain action now. We can use simple decisions for a really wide range of governance decisions. I mean, we have an article forthcoming that has it's going to really dive deep into some of these potential use cases. But virtually any yes or no question can be applicable here. So something casual such as should mini giraffes be our official colony mascot? That is something that's totally applicable here. One thing that's important to note is that the outcomes of simple decisions actually have to be carried out by contributors to the DAO, right? Because it's not happening automatically. So whenever you submit a simple decision, it's a good practice to mention who is accountable for carrying out that outcome. You can see here that someone has left a comment saying, if this passes, I will be responsible for changing the placard in the main office. So this person, Will5, whoever they are, has said they are responsible for carrying out this outcome and making giraffes the official colony mascot here. So what happens? How does Colony, ensure that these outcomes are carried out? Well, we can do that through the use of a smite motion. If somebody doesn't carry out what they say they're going to do, we can essentially smite them, and they could lose some of their reputation for not doing what they said they do. So everything here is sort of built into Colony to handle all of those situations. So I've covered. Yes. So I'd love to hear a little bit from Chris on kind of tools we can use to expand the Simple Decisions toolkit. Obviously, something like this could even be used for approving a white paper or ratifying a sense of guiding principles or a mission statement within your DAO. Really important things which every organization has to think about. But maybe, is there another tool? What's kind of a best practice for if somebody wants to link to an external tool within their simple decision? Can you help us out with that, Chris?
Sure. So obviously there's the option to, let's say, you just put your, let's say you have a longer proposal, and that might be multiple paragraphs of text, maybe with some images and everything like that, and then you want to have that ratified in the simple decision. So how do you do that? There's a way of, I mean, one obvious route would be to just, like, let's say, put it on Notion or some other platform or Google Docs, and just have it, just paste the link into the simple decision in Colony. The problem with that is that the document then, or the document behind the link, is mutable by anyone. That means, like, it's really hard to see the end. I mean, they support history and everything, but it's really hard to see in the end, like, what people actually voted on at a first glance. So you kind of have to either link to a version of it that is kind of immutable, or you have to just, I don't know, hope for the best. There's another method where you can just say, I mean, maybe the developers among us will be just say, yeah, we just put it on IPFS. This is a way to do it, because then it's basically immutable. But it's, like, sometimes really tough for other people to read that, because it's not really well formatted, or to just put it there can also already be a hurdle. There are certain tools that we are going to link in the text channel of this channel, where you can find out more, which is, like, for example, markdown.link, which is a very interesting site where you can just edit a markdown document in a nice editor, or nice enough editor. You can even add images and everything, and then it will give you an immutable link to that document. It means, which is, like, well formatted and everything. It means you kind of trust this platform to some extent, but on the other hand, you can always verify that this link is going to be correct, and the proposal is going to be correct using just the IPFS hash. So that's one option, and you could probably do the same with with Ethereum Swarm or any other um, file system provider that is out there that does a very similar thing.
Right, right. So the main thing is if you're going to link to any external source, be it an image, be it a markdown document, anything, make sure it's immutable, or else you may have voted on something which is kind of someone goes in and changes that proposal after the matter, which is bad news. Another great way to avoid that issue is to just keep the proposal on Colony itself, and you won't have to worry about it being changed after the matter. Great. So let's see. Well, I have Chris here. I want to pick his brains some more. Can you give us, I mean, I know that Simple Decisions is like a major feature release here, but it's also a stepping stone towards kind of more advanced decision making and a more rich feature set for DAOs and in Colony in general. Maybe you can give us a sneak peek, a little alpha leak for the viewers here, the kind of features that Colony users might see in the future.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing that we're working on right now is to make the dApp more stable and more performant. So this is going to be a nice upgrade for people who already use it a lot, and yeah, just wanted to be a bit snappier and crash less, I guess. So that's always a good thing. So that's in the works, which is a major stepping stone for us. Another thing is Gnosis Safe Control, which allows you to control your Gnosis Safe treasury, because a lot of people have their treasuries on Gnosis Safe, which allows you to essentially control your Gnosis Safe from within Colony, which is quite um, handy. This is another major big feature that we're working on. And one more thing, we are working on behind the scenes. We're experimenting with um, being more cross-chain. But that is in the very early works, and I cannot give you any details on that yet. But that's going to be exciting. So this is stay tuned, I guess, for next year.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. Yeah, at this time, we can open up the floor. If anybody has any additional questions, you can raise your hand, I believe, or you can drop a text question in the text box. I heard a click from Lalo there. All right, no worries.
Sorry, just clicked by mistake. But no, thanks so much. Really appreciate this walkthrough. I've been following Colony for maybe a year or a little bit more. When it actually started, uh, was actually about to integrate it with a project that I had back then, but yeah, now looking with the new project that I have and looking at this Colony new features, yeah, see it more fit, and then as well some other DAOs that I'm part of that are looking for this type of tooling. So yeah, I appreciate it, Will and Chris. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the feedback. Nice.
Yeah, great to have you here, and definitely let us know if there's anything we can do to help you out getting those other DAOs on board. Cool. I think with that, we're pretty good. We'll be cutting this up and putting it out as a video later, so look for that. And thanks, Chris, for your time, and everyone for hopping on here. This has been a good dive. We'll be doing more of these as more features are rolled out. Some really exciting stuff in the works, so take it easy,
Thanks,
y'all.
Will.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right. Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.